Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to another what I eat in a day. For breakfast one day recently, I made some toast with peanut butter, banana and cinnamon. I first just thinly sliced a banana, then I toasted some bread. This was a rye and wheat bread, which I really love, and then once that was done, I spread on a good layer of smooth peanut butter. I then just placed the sliced banana on the top, and I then sprinkled a little bit of ground cinnamon over it all. When we moved house recently, we only had a toaster in our kitchen for about a week, so I ate this almost every day for breakfast because you really don't need a lot for it and it's delicious. I love the combination of the sweet banana, the sticky peanut butter and the spicy kick that the cinnamon gives it. However, I've also made this with cocoa powder dusted over the top instead of the cinnamon, some cacao nibs sprinkled over. If you're feeling it in the morning, some grated chocolate is amazing too, or just some nuts and seeds sprinkled over the top as well. For lunch, I made a curried butternut squash, split pea and coconut soup. For this, I just drizzled around a tablespoon of oil in a pan on low heat. I then minced 2 cloves of garlic and added those into the pan and just let them gently sizzle. Meanwhile, I peeled, halved and deseeded a medium-sized butternut squash, and then I just roughly cut it up into cubes and also added that into the pan. I gave the butternut squash a good turn through the garlic and just cooked it for around a minute. I then added in a tablespoon of medium curry powder, then 1 teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of turmeric and a 1/4 teaspoon of dried chilli flakes. I then just gave it another good turn over to coat everything well. Next, I took a cup of dried yellow split peas, emptied them out into a sieve over the sink, then just gave them a really good rinse under running water until the water from them ran clear. Made sure that they were well drained, and then I added those to the pan too, along with 2 pints of boiling vegetable stock. Then just seasoned it with some salt and black pepper. I gave it all another good stir, brought it up to a boil and then reduced the heat back down to a gentle simmer and left that for around 30 minutes until the split peas were cooked through. Once they were done, I then poured in a can of coconut milk. I then took a bunch of coriander and just pulled the leaves off the stems, then roughly just chopped up the stalks because there's so much flavour in these, so they're really useful, and I then just added those to the pan too. I kept the leaves to one side. I then just gave it all a good stir, and then I used my handheld blender just to blend it up a little bit, not completely, though you can do whatever you like. I like that blending it a little makes it a little bit thicker, but I like to leave chunks of the butternut squash in there too. Finally, I added in a handful of spinach and just let that cook down. I then made some really quick croutons, so in a separate bowl I whisked together some olive oil, some garlic granules and some chopped parsley. I then took a slice of bread, cut it up into rough chunks and then placed that in the bowl and just turned it all through the oil mixture well. I added those to a hot flat pan and just fried those off until they started to turn golden. I then just put a portion of the soup in a bowl. I did add on some more dried chilli flakes over the top for a bit more heat. Then I added on the croutons and then lastly the coriander leaves. This might seem like a lot of prep just for my lunch, but this actually made 4 portions. So I had some for lunch the next day too, with some quinoa on the side. It was really nice with that. And then the day after we actually had it for dinner with rice, like a bit of a curry. So you could use this in plenty of different ways to switch up the leftovers, and it's freezable too if you wanted to save some for another time. The flavours in this are delicious. I just love any kind of soup with butternut squash, lentils or split peas and coconut. It all goes together so nicely. For a snack after lunch, I had one of these CoYo Vanilla Coconut Yoghurts. These actually come in a few different flavours. I've tried the caramel and the chocolate ones, which are really good too. I just added some berries into this to mix through. I used some blueberries and blackberries, both of which are my favourite combination with vanilla yoghurt or ice cream or even custard. These yogurts are so good though, really creamy and thick. You guys know by now that I like to pimp up my yogurts a little bit by adding things into them. It's usually fruit, but I like to crumble in snack bars or add in nuts and seeds too. Then for dinner I made a soy and ginger seitan noodle stir fry with greens. I first melted a teaspoon of coconut oil in a large shallow pan on a medium heat. I then minced 2 cloves of garlic and added those to the pan. Then I also finely sliced half a small red chilli and added that to the pan too. Next I took a jar of Bayonna's seitan pieces marinated in ginger and soy sauce. I added the whole jar into the pan because the marinade works great as like a stir fry sauce too. I also added in some tender stem broccoli and just cooked that off for a few minutes before then adding in some monge too and also a pak choi. I cooked that off for a few more minutes, just constantly turning everything over. I then added in 2 portions of udon noodles and a large handful of spinach. And again, just kept frying it off and turning it over until the vegetables were tender and the noodles had cooked through. I then served that up between 2 dishes. I'd chopped up a spring onion, so I divided that over the top of both bowls. I'd also sliced up the remaining half of the red chilli, so I added that on the top too, along with some coriander and also some lime on the side just to squeeze over it all. Honestly, this is one of my favourite kind of meals to make for dinner. You just can't beat a good stir fry. It takes hardly any time or effort at all to put together. I think this was all under 20 minutes. Yet you can pack so much in there in terms of flavours and textures. I love these seitan pieces from Bayonna. I always find seitan quite hard to find, but I really enjoy it when I do have it. So when I saw these, I had to get them, and I use them so often now in curries, stews. They're so versatile. You could add whatever you like to this. You could use different noodles. I love udon noodles because they're nice and chunky, but you could also add in some mushrooms, peppers, baby corn, green cabbage, carrots. I just tend to use whatever's in my fridge, which makes it slightly different each time I create this sort of thing. And for dessert, I then had a few of these Monty Bojangles Cacao Nib Nights vegan truffles. These are so insanely good, it's hard to only eat a few and not the entire box. They're rich, they're velvety, they literally melt in your mouth. But the cacao nibs just give them a bit of a crunch. They are so good. If you're in the UK, you can now find these in Tesco. Such a great option, say, if you're heading to somebody else's house and want to take along a box of chocolates or want to give someone some chocolates as a gift. I've always struggled with finding a good box of vegan chocolates or truffles that aren't crazy expensive to give as a thank you gift, so these are perfect. They're also perfect just to have all for yourself like I did. And that's it for another day on my plate. I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, all of the recipes are written up down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!